Okay, got called out here on this 2013 F350 6.2. Problem with the car is no horn. No horn. Now I have the clock spring off and I'm already pretty well done diagnosing this car, but I just wanted to bring you guys along for some of the fun stuff that's along the way. So, simple wiring diagram. Here's our horn, and our horn relay I should say. Our BCM is there. It actually contains a horn relay that's non-serviceable. We have a power that comes in there from a fuse 22, 20 amp fuse. Goes down on the control side, comes down through a microprocessor on the inside, and then down to the steering column control module. Out of that, through the clock spring, down to the horn pad, and then back through the clock spring, back down to ground. So, what do we have here? Microprocessor is going to be here, so that way in case we have a, let's say, an anti-theft on here, like a content theft, I should say. Something that's going to bleep the horn to let you know that you've locked the doors. This truck doesn't have that, but I'm sure it still has the microprocessor in there. It'll also have it for bidirectional control, which works in my favor. Then we have our steering column control module in control of that same wire. So our steering column control module has to see an input. I'm assuming that there's going to be a voltage coming out, some type of voltage going out through the clock spring, down through the horn switch. And then when we close it, which as you can see there, we flip the lever to number 2, it's going to come out back through the clock spring and hit ground. On the other side of it there, the horn relay itself, it just closes contacts, comes out, goes directly to horn, down to ground. Simple, right? Alright, so if we come in here and we look at ours, I'm already in special test, but there's no need to be there yet. We go into our BCM, and we're going to get data stream. The very first thing we want to do is see whether or not we have a request to turn that horn on. And I'll sort it A to Z, and we'll go down here and get horn output, which is the only thing there. There is no horn in, there's no input, there's no horn request, there's none of that in there. All you have is the one that says horn output. So it doesn't tell you whether or not it's receiving a request. You just have to assume based upon whether or not anything's there. So I'm going to squeeze this closed, which will bring it to ground, and as you can see, nothing there, inactive. They wanted to replace the body control module, mind you. Alright, so we do that. We're proving right now horn switch up to steering column control module going into BCM that it's not seeing, the BCM is not seeing any type of an input here showing that horn switch closed. So let's go back out again and let's go into horn switch, and we will take a look under steering column control module. If it allows us, steering column control module, hit continue. And we're going to customize the data PIDs, sort A to Z, and absolutely no horn switch input. So, useless. Right? So now we're going to have to do it our way. We're going to do this manual testing. So manual testing on here. I want to get tagged into this violet and green wire, and I want to get tagged into this light blue and black wire. I want to see both sides of that steering column control module. Know whether or not we have an input or do we have an output problem, right? So input side there, if we go in there, that's going to be the light blue and black wire, which I'm already tagged into. And then on the other side of it, violet and green going into our steering column control module. Or I should say out of our steering column control module. And then back over to the BCM, which sits down there in the corner. So I have it up here on the screen. It's all ready to go. A is our, let's see, our yellow trace is going to be our violet and green wire going up here to the BCM. And then our other wire is going to be our horn switch. So voltage wise, where do we sit? Right about 10.5 volts. And if I close the contacts on the horn switch, you will see it goes down to ground. I know the glare is bad and I can't really do much about that. But as you can see, it changes there. But what we don't see is the steering column control module making any effort whatsoever to ground that relay. Right? So, can the steering column control module control it? Is the question? Well, not really. We already know that he's receiving an input to it, right? We can see that the voltage has to go through the steering column control module, out through the clock spring to the horn switch. So we know already we have a bad steering column control module, but how can we prove the body control module is okay? So let's go out of that, and let's go into special tests here, and let's go into our BCM here, And we're going to go to probably other tests. Horn test. It says engine must not be running. Well, it can be. And we're going to continue. And we're going to listen for a horn when we hit active. And we had one momentarily. Look at this. Let me stop it on the screen. So what did you see here? Did we see it actually go to ground? No. What we saw was the inductive kick of the relay. So what just happened? The microprocessor inside grounded this momentarily. Okay, we see a momentary drop in voltage here, but not completely down to voltage. Just enough to sit there and turn that relay on. And then afterwards, when the relay gets turned off, this is going to create an inductive kick of over 45 volts, telling us then that it's releasing that coil, right? Just like any other little coil that's in there, just like a solenoid or an injector or anything else. You're gonna get a little bit of an inductive spike, and it comes back down here to steering column control module, which actually still induces the current back out. It doesn't buffer it in any way. It induces that current back out or that voltage, I should say, back out through the clock spring, and that's what we're actually seeing there. So our yellow and green both are getting that inductive kick. So, does it need a body control module? Nope. Body control module has good control of it, and if it was receiving an input from the steering column control module, I'm sure that this would work. This car needs a steering column control module, which in this case is, I don't know if I can get it good. Yeah, let's see, I'll tilt it a little bit. This entire unit right here. So, new steering column control module. I'll get that in here, and then I'll get it programmed, and maybe I'll bring you guys back on here again, and we can watch operation and see that when we actually close this little horn pad up here, that we should see the same exact thing happen over there. We should see that yellow wire, or that yellow trace here, our violet and green wire should be getting pulsed down to ground momentarily from the steering column. All right, so I know that was, I kind of rushed through it, but I have a lot of cars to get to over here. They're kind of all piling up on me right now, and I want to get some cars done, and it's about 95 degrees. This is the only truck so far with AC. So anyhow, that's what it is. So 2013 F350 no horn. These are the things you have to look at. Have a good one.